Namaskar, welcome you all, and iOS welcomes you in this educational video. Today we will be doing English for secondary level and we are doing lesson number 27. Today's topic is the parrot who wouldn't talk. This story is about a parrot. First, we will do difficult words. This word is unfortunate, something unlucky which makes you unhappy. For example, while playing game, you get some hurt, or your mobile just drops in at some place. Morosely, it is like gloomily. Ornamental, mimic, it is just like copying the voice or copying the behavior, just like sometimes we mimic the animal's behavior or their sounds. If any person mimics the behavior of other person, that is also mimicry. So there are different kinds of mimics. Admonition, this is just like the advice to be careful or some danger or something which you need to be careful. Dabbed, glared, just looking at a place continuously, maybe with anger or some with jealousy. Tantrum, just for example, if a child is going with a mother and asking for ice cream and mother is trying to say no, but the child is naughty and he plays tantrum because child wants the ice cream. So then he or she starts crying, then mother gives the ice cream and the child is happy. So such activities which makes the other person forced to do that work is tantrum. To behold, it is just like naturally you see. Blandishments, for example, I am a teenager person and my parents are not allowing me to go for picnic, then I would request my parents with some good things and then I would request them to allow me to go to the picnic. So that this buttering work plus allowing the parents to for the work is blandishments. Prospect, endearments, to talk softly and dearly, to calm down the other person. hostile, when the person is not happy with the surrounding, unfriendly, making faces. It is just like mocking and teasing the other person by making different kinds of negative faces. To supplement means to add. Like whenever we drink milk, we add sugar or something extra. And when we talk, we sometimes add few points. Fell upon. These are the duties to carry out of the other person. Delicacy. Siesta. It's a short nap in the noontime when we take a small nap just after taking the lunch. Winging its way. Shrug. It is just like saying I don't know and moving the shoulder in this particular manner. Gramophone. This is the old device which is used for music. Expectantly. It means to hope, to expect something positive. Author, the person who writes stories or comprehension paragraphs or something. Well known, like we know cricket player, different politician, famous personalities we all know, so they are all well known persons. Pets. These are those animals which we can bring home and they can live with us, just like rat, dog, pet. They are different animals. They do not harm us. So they are able to live with us, only they are called as pets. There are some wild animals also, they cannot live with us, like snake or tiger or lion. They are not allowed to live with us, or human being. Fortune teller. The person who tells the future or the fortune. Let us now move further towards the grammar, as we have already covered the difficult words. The lesson has few modals. This is the part of grammar which we will be covering. We will be doing these modals. These are the modal verbs. There are many modal verbs which you can see on the screen. We all may have seen these modal verbs quite often in different sentences. I would be explaining them to you now. First modal which we are doing is may. Actually, may can be used in different ways. In this, we will be doing few selected ones only. In this, we are using the sentences for seeking permission. So, for seeking the permission, we use may. These are the examples which you can see on the screen. The first example says, may I borrow your notebook? So, in this, may have been used. This is for taking the permission. It is just quite similar to can I borrow your notebook? So, you can use may I or can I. The second sentence says, may I sit here? When you have to ask the other person for the seat. So, that is a grammatical correct way to seek permission. The third sentence is, may I use your bathroom? So, this word is used for showing good behavior. The second modal verb is could. It is generally used for the past tense, but also to express your ability, we use this could. Just like I could do. To express your feeling, you use this could. Let me show you with these examples which you can see on the screen. First sentence says, I could ride a horse when I was 5 years old. This is a normal talk. The second example says, I could swim for 3 hours at a stretch. Third example says, Sonu could come to work. Now, could can be used for another way also. This is for polite request. There are few examples on the screen. The first one is, could you hold this for a while? You can ask for anything, or for a book, or for holding a pen, or for holding a mobile. So, could you hold this for a while? The second sentence is for, could I use your computer please for taking the permission? And the third example is, could you tell me where the post office is please? So, these are the examples for modal verb could. The first one was for expressing yourself and the second one was for polite request. Now, this which you can see on the screen is may. This is for the probability when you are not sure of something. In that case, you express a possibility or maybe not like thing, the situation. The first example says that it may rain today. So, there are chances that it will rain. You are not sure about the rain, but there are chances. The second sentence says, he may come late at lunchtime. The third example explains, I may watch a movie tonight. So, these three examples are showing the situation of some possibility. Now, this modal verb is used for expressing the necessity. The first sentence says, you must take better care of your health. So, it is a necessity, only then you can come office. The second sentence says about vote, this is about vote. You must be 18 or you must be older enough to vote. And the third sentence says his daughter must go to the hospital to see his father or her father or the person who is in the hospital. So, this is to express the necessity, we use this must. O-U-G-H-T, ought to. These two are used together. These are used to show your moral obligation, like you are teaching something good or some positive to the other person. The three examples are on screen. The first sentence explains we ought to respect our parents. So, this is something moral we are suggesting. The second example says you ought to help the needy. So, this is also something good we are suggesting. It is a moral obligation. So, that is why you are using ought to. And the third example saying my sister ought to call my mother more often, because mother would be worried. So, it is better to inform your mother. This is also a moral obligation. So, in that case we use ought to. Now, another modal verb is shall, but the structure is a bit different. You must understand the use with I and we. We have three examples on the screen. The first example says, shall I bring a glass of water for you? It is not saying that I will bring, it is a question. The second example, shall we go to the cinema? The third example says, shall I buy us ticket? Any ticket, it can be any ticket, train ticket or aeroplane ticket. It is just like will, use of will. Till now we covered the grammar part of this lesson. Now further we take a break here. Let us take a break.
करने राहों को आलोकित करने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने। समय की सीमा से कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े बेविषय की लोच से युक्त हो, कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े बेविषय की लोच से युक्त हो। मित्रों हम उठे और जागे, मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने, अपना जीवन स्वयं बने हम, अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने। जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने। राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय का है द्वार खुला सबकी खातिर।
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर।
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर दुनिया में इसके केंद्र बात, कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने, हम अपना जीवन स्वयं बने हम, अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने, स्वयं बने हम,
Now we will begin the story, The Parrot Who Wouldn't Talk. Let's begin it. Do you all have seen pets, or do you have a pet? Like there are different pets we can keep, sometimes dog, animals like rat, cat. At some point of time we have all have had a pet or wanted one and wanted to buy one or get one pet at home. But having a pet is not just fun. A pet needs proper care and attention. Like you need attention from your friends saying that I have a pet, and you need to take proper care of the pet. There are some basic trainings, and the pets need to be trained in a proper way, and there is a particular way of doing it. Like we give order to the dog to bring newspaper. So there are proper trainings we give to our pets for doing particular things. This story is written in the first person. The author has written this story about his Bua, aunt. This author's aunt decides to keep a parrot as a pet. So the author has written the story in a funny way, as the author himself observes the situation. The name of the lesson is The Parrot Who Couldn't Talk, because the Bua is willing to train the parrot to talk in a hope that the parrot will speak and talk. The author has tried to make this story in a funny way, in a humorous way. And the author is a well-known person, well-known author. His name is Ruskin Bond. I will show you the picture also. This story is from the place North India. The story author's grandmother bungalow, and it is the story of a talking parrot. We all know that sometimes parrots speak, they talk continuously. So you are not beauty, you can't talk, you can't sing, you can't dance. These are the words which Aunt Ruby would taunt quite often to the unfortunate parakeet or the parrot. But the parrot, who glared silently at everyone from its ornamental cage at one end of the long room. The parrot is very sad, and the aunt is continuously telling all these things. Because it's a story of old days, so in those distant days, almost everyone from India and also from Europe, they used to keep pets like birds, parrots. There are different kinds of birds which they used to keep as pet. Some birds are called as parakeet in India. They are the all birds, but different places people call it by different name. Also there are love birds, as some of the smaller ones were called at some other places. You can see on the image on the screen. So there are different birds in different sizes, different colors. So according to the situation, according to the place, they have different names. Sometimes these birds, which are the pets, they become great talkers. They are very good in mimicking, and sometime also they would learn to recite the entire sentences, the entire mantra, like our old people, they religiously chant some mantras. So these parrots could copy those mantras also. And also sometime, being a parent, we teach our child to study continuously and say, study child, study. So these parrots also copy the same sentences, study child, study, or for the benefits of the boys, for the students, and some teaching sentences like don't be greedy, don't be greedy. So they continuously keep saying and make people laugh. So the parrots are good at mimicking the sentences, so they just copy the sentences. And whatever sentences they speak, they learn it in a slow manner. But yes, if the repetition is done quite well, then they can speak. Just like in our families, if there are few sentences which are repeated quite often, and also if a proper training is given to the parrots, they can express those sentences. But this parrot, which is in the story, was not interested in talking. this bird refused to talk. This parrot was caught by the bird catcher in a cage, and that bird catcher used to visit all the houses of the author's colony and would ask the people for the parrot to buy the parrot. Sometime that bird catcher used to paint the bird in another color just to attract the people and sell those birds. If the people like the bird, only then they can buy the bird. So that was his business. So and in this story, when my Bua bought the parrot, neither of my granny and nor grandfather were keen on keeping the caged birds. They used to say that these birds are these are the natural birds, natural animals, so they should not be kept in a cage. But that Bua, my aunt Bua, she threatened to throw a tantrum if she didn't get her way. So the parents allowed. And anyways, she insisted on keeping the parrot, and she insisted on teaching it to talk. But the parrot took an instant dislike to my aunt and resisted all her blandishments. The bird was not liking to talk to Bua, to Aunt Ruby. Just like sometime my Aunt Ruby liked to talk to Parrot and tell the parrot to kiss on her cheeks. But the parrot's face, the parrot used to just back away from the Aunt Ruby. And the parrot's face was like my Bua used to keep her face close to the bars of the cage, but the parrot was not interested, and his eyes in anger was keeping smaller and smaller. And at one time, the parrot lunged forward without warning and knocked my aunt's spectacles off her face. So Bua should, because Bua had not taught anything like not to behave in this manner, so it happened. After that, Aunt Ruby gave up her endearments and became quite hostile towards the poor bird. She used to make faces at the bird and used to quite often tell the bird, you can't talk, you can't talk, you can't sing, you can't dance. And few days later, in the afternoon, when everyone at home was taking a nap, because the story is written by the author, so that is why here I is used. I gave the parrot its lunch, and then I saw the bird is in cage every time, so I just deliberately left the cage door open. And a second later, the bird was winging its way to the freedom of the nearby garden of mango orchards. And as the bird flew away, at the same time, my grandfather came to the veranda and said, I just saw your aunt's parrot has escaped. And the author replied, that the cage door is weak or quite loose, I think. And he said with a shrug, well, I don't suppose, we'll see it again sometime later. And Aunt Ruby was upset when she heard the news. And then she also said to the all family members that she will buy another bird. All the family members this time said, no, we will buy a bowl of goldfish this time. And somehow they put off her promising, saying that fishes we will arrange. But he replied, goldfish don't talk. And she protested, well, neither did your birds, said the grandfather. So there was a communication between the grandfather and the aunt. So grandfather said, you can listen to the music all day. We will bring you a gramophone that you can play music full day and enjoy. It will speak just like parrot and you will be happy. Then aunt just was quiet that time. I thought that now the parrot has flown away and we will not see the parrot again. But maybe it's missed the green chilies. Few days later, I found a bird sitting on the veranda. You can see the veranda image on the screen, veranda railing. And that bird was looking expectantly at me with its head cocked to one side. And I was having a mango and I unselfishly gave the parrot half of my mango. Because mango is a fruit and maybe birds like it, so I gave it to the parrot. The bird was happy to see the mango and the bird started enjoying it. And when Aunt Ruby emerged from her room and she gave a cry of surprise saying, look, it is my parrot came back. And hearing the sound, parrot was a bit angry maybe, I guess. With a loud squawk, the parrot flew out of her reach and perching on the nearest rose bush, glared at her and shrugged in my aunt's familiar tone, saying, just like my aunt used to tell the parrot, you are no beauty, you cannot talk, you can't sing, you can't dance. So the parrot in a similar way said, you are no beauty, you can't talk, you can't sing, you can't dance. So these words he repeatedly kept telling. And listening all those words, Aunt Ruby, she went ruby red and dashed indoors. But That was not the end of the scene. The parrot became a frequent visitor to the garden and veranda of our home. And whenever it saw Aunt Ruby, it would call out, "You are no beauty, you are no beauty, you can't talk, you can't sing, you can't dance." So, we can say the parrot had learned to talk after all, because that repeat sentences the parrot was listening for a quite long time. So, they keep a good memory, and when they learn it, they can talk those same sentences. This is the image of the writer, Ruskin Bond. He is the author of this story. He was born on 19th of May in the year 1934. He is 87 years old now. He is from Kasauli, Punjab State Agency, from British India Times. His occupation is author and is also a poet. Let us take a break here.
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने,
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने।
धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो, धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो,
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो,
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो,
मित्रों हम उठे और जागे,
मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने,
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने।
राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय का है द्वार खुला सबकी खातिर, शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर,
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर दुनिया में इसके केंद्र बांट
कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने हम अपना जीवन स्वयं बने हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने स्वयं बने हम
Till now we have understood the lesson. Now these are some more points we will be discussing now. These images which you can see on the screen, there are different bright colored birds of different sizes, sometimes short, sometimes different sizes. Their claws, which you can say feet, their feet are also of different shapes and sizes. Their beaks are also of different shapes and sizes. Their voices are also different. Few can mimic and they can talk, but there are few others they cannot mimic and they cannot talk. But there are few species which can memorize very good and repeat the human voice. There are more than 300 species of parrots. Do you know the image which you can see on the screen is of the parakeet? It's a small parrot with a green plumage. It has a long green tail, and there are many parakeets. And one which is very commonly seen is rosy-ringed parakeet. In Hindi we call it tota. We quite often have seen this bird. Now this image is of the lovebirds. These are very small African and Madagascan parrots with mainly green plumage, and they have typically red and black faces. And it is noted that their faces have red and green colors like you can see on the screen, and these birds are known for the affectionate behavior towards its mate. We all know that birds are protected by some legal act, and there are Wildlife Protection Act. In short, we call it WPA. It was started in the year 1972. This act is for the protection of the birds, and also it is illegal to keep any bird in a cage or at any place which is locked. So buying and selling of the bird is actually not allowed, but still we have some parrots or some pigeons we can see at many places. So buying and selling and keeping them in a cage is not allowed by the legal act. And also it is illegal to color the birds as it was done by the bird seller in the story to make them look more colorful and more attractive, just to befool the public or the person who is buying the bird, because these chemical colors are toxic and they are possibly carcinogenic. They can cause cancer to the bird. So that is why it is illegal, it is not allowed. And caging and displaying any bird or any parrot for the sale or as a fortune teller, it is not allowed, it is illegal, it is punishable, and also there is fine. Sometime you may have seen the fortune teller for, there are different cards and they tell our fortune. When you may have seen the parrot is coming out of the cage and picking up a card to tell the future of the person. If you have any question, you have any query, the parrot will listen to your query and then choose a card, and the fortune teller will tell about your future. So such things are illegal, they are found to be fine, and there is a punishment up to 5 years of imprisonment. So buying is not allowed, keeping them in cage is not allowed. All these things are illegal, not allowed. Most of the birds which are bought and sold in India, there are strict rules, strict legal act, and the Indian Wildlife Act protects all these birds because it is their right. So there is a Wildlife Protection Act which was passed in the year 1972. Till now we have covered the difficult words, the grammar part, we also understood the story and also something about the protection law. So I hope you enjoyed the story. Thank you so much.